We don't get scripts or anything ahead of time, so most of the time you just go in, you live in the moment, and just do whatever you feel is right, and you hope that it's right. And there's other people on the team that may know certain other aspects, and you hope they direct you to the right place. And sometimes they do, and sometimes it's not quite there, and you just do the best you can.
Coming into a project, like with the dubbing side, how it's done after the original voicing and the animations, everything's done. So like, a lot of people already have an idea of what the series is, and then you come into the audition, and I'm sure they give you like your information about the character. But is it difficult trying to like build a performance on something that's already been kind of established in its own way?
Yeah, so, and I'm sure everyone approaches this differently. For me, I try not to copy what one of the seiyus has done previously, but I try to just take it as inspiration and then be creative in a way that's kind of in a box. So to say, like, I want it to be my own performance, but I want it to stay true to what the creators intended. So I look at it as a success. If something's supposed to be funny in Japanese and people laugh in English at those moments, like, we did our job. Something's supposed to like pull your heartstrings at a certain moment, and we do that in English, like, we've done our job. So we might accomplish things in a different way than the Japanese actors, but if we pull those emotions from you, how they're kind of intended to, then we're doing something right.
Well, it's good because it's an interesting dynamic, because doing the same character in two different ways, there's like you said, it can depend on if someone's heard one or the other or both. Because earlier at the panel, Adachi was drawing everything, and they had the message from the Japanese
Matsuoka-san.
Seiyu, and like I heard it and I went, oh, that's Kirito, and then I was like, but you are as well, like sitting up on stage.
Well, we share in that experience, and I've been fortunate enough to meet some of my Japanese counterparts a number of times. Okay. So I've met Matsuoka-san a few times now, and he's an amazing actor. He's an amazing person, such a nice, genuine guy. And it's so interesting that even though we don't speak the same language, like, we've had this similar experience. Just I was able to be inspired by his experience of it. And we have that kind of connection. So it's kind of interesting also, Kaji-san, who unfortunately wasn't here this weekend, I had some really interesting conversations with him too about how we approached Eren Yeager. And we were on an interview together, and I was listening to him talk about what he was feeling in these moments, and I'm like, I went through the same thing. Like, I was feeling very, very similar to him, so I'm like, yes, I hit on those things. Like, so it's interesting. Yeah, I kind of compare it sometimes if someone watches the sub and then watches the dub. Like, they can't be compared. It's almost like reading the book and then watching the movie. Like, you use your mind a little bit more when you listen, because I speak zero Japanese. So it's hard for me sometimes to keep up with everything that's happening and really understand all the nuances. Like, for the Alfheim arc in Sword Art Online, I watched it and I enjoyed it, but when I watched it back in English, I was like, oh, there's all these little moments with Lifa and the different characters in that arc that I didn't pick up on, just because Japanese isn't my language. I speak zero Japanese. But when I watched it in English, all those little funny, cute parts kind of shown the way that they probably do if you speak Japanese, and I really enjoyed it even more. So they can both be appreciated. I definitely like to watch shows when I have the opportunity to, before I go in and record, and just absorb and take it as inspiration so I can create something that kind of pays homage to that too.
It's kind of like what you're saying before about your goal, kind of, if we've made them laugh or we made them feel that way. It is that way. I noticed, I can't remember who said it, but I think it was a voiceover director in one of the behind the scenes things saying the same thing about how you appreciate the subs and you read it and you go, that's funny, but if it's in English you might laugh at it because you don't have to take the time to process, like read it, go, that's funny, and then process it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hope, is that things are funny when you hear them back, when they're intended to be funny.
No, definitely, because, I've watched a few, and like you said with Attack on Titan, I watched that the first go through, and then I watched it the second go through. But it's like, it's weird because it's the same character, but it's different.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes performances in Japanese to get to a certain feeling are different than how someone who's an English speaker would get to that feeling. So when you compare them, straight across, it's not supposed to be compared like that. Like, it's just, they should be looked at kind of on their own. And when you look at the Japanese performance, Kaji-san is incredible. He's an amazing actor, and to go in, after someone has set the bar so high is really challenging. But I'm really proud of what I've done so far as Aaron, and I'm excited to record again.
It's good, which, based on that, like, Attack on Titan and Sword Art are both huge franchise. Like, look out in the convention and anywhere else, there's just, you can't count how many fans there are. Is that any different coming into, like, you've done a lot of roles, and then there's other ones where it comes out and it's already has this giant fan base. Is that, I guess, is there any more, like, pressure you take into the booth when you record, knowing that, like, oh, this already has just
I think
widespread
appeal? It builds the excitement of it. It's like when you're recording, you're in this room by yourself, by the way. When you're dubbing, you're watching the screen and you're talking as the character's talking on screen, and you have to get your voice to match the lip flaps. So you're in this soundproof booth by yourself, and you pour your heart and your soul into the microphone, and you just hope people see it. And I really love coming to events like this, because it's that applause that I get. If I was a comedian or I was on stage and the scene ends, I would hear laughter, hear that applause. For voice actors, this is our applause. When people show up to our panels, when they come to our autographs and tell us, these moments touched us or affected us in these ways, like, it is literally our applause, and it is incredible to be able to do this. So with those bigger titles or more popular titles, I think it's just a better chance that someone's going to see it. And the hope is that when I go in there and I pour myself into that microphone, that people get to hear what I've done, and I hope they love it.
That makes sense. So, like, I guess following on from that, does it become easier if you've done, like, a character for multiple series, like you've done Eren and everything like that, and like, does it become easier if it's over a longer time, or, I mean, does it make you think about the nuances more, knowing that, oh, I've done this character for so long?
Well, when you've lived with the character for a while, I kind of know, like, what it takes to get back to that character's mindset. There's always sort of a startup. Like when I've left a character for, say, a year, there's always a little, like, catch-up that I have to do. So they save vocal references from when you establish that character. And what that means is the first time you come into the booth, there's no voice that's been established. So you play around, you test things, you go, oh, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, he feels this way, he's this way. So you find that, and then they save these key lines. And when you get back in the booth, they play them for you, and you repeat them. So for me, I not only have those kind of lines that I've said before, but I have facial expressions that I make. So for me, it's like finding those facial expressions really helps me. So for Aaron, it's all angry, down here, angry. For Kirito, I think about getting haze into my voice and adding it this way. For another show you might have seen called The Seven Deadly Sins, I voice Meliodas, and for Meliodas, we found that I have to raise my eyebrows so high to stretch out my vocal cords, and that's the only way I can voice Meliodas. And then I voice Zeldris, and its eyebrows down. So it all depends on which character I'm playing. I kind of have these things where I set myself. So it's kind of different per character. And but living with a character for a long time is really nice, because I kind of know where they are. I know, what their journey has been, and I bring that with me to the next performance.
Well, that's interesting, because, like, obviously, it's still, you act entirely, but no one sees any of that stuff. Is it, I guess, freeing in a way that you can move and posture yourself in whatever way, and the animation, doesn't show Meliodas with his eyebrows up all the time. Or
His eyebrows are up a lot.
They
by
are
the
up
way.
a lot, actually. They
if
are
you watch
actually.
it back, that's why we ended up there.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, what? Like, we recorded something, and then I'm like, wait a second. His eyebrows are like up here. Can we go back and try something? And then I did it, and the director, Chris Kaysen, was like, that's it. Whatever you just did, that's Meliodas. It wasn't until I saw his eyebrows up in the animation that I found his voice.
Is that one also Yuki Kaji?
It is Kaji-san also, yes.
Yeah.
We share a couple roles, actually. More than you'd think.
Yeah.
There's a show called Inazuma 11. It's a soccer anime. We share a role in that show. There's a show called Dragon Pilot. We share a role in that show. There's quite a few. And actually, recently, I've been matched up with Matsuoka-san a few different times. So we share Kirito, but we also share Inosuke from Demon Slayer, which is super interesting. And actually, just recently, so I'm going to be very nebulous about this because I can't say much. But so I was invited out here very last second to kind of fill in because of the unfortunate things going on with flights and restrictions. So to make this work, I had to shove all my recording very quickly together. And there's one of the projects I'm working on that I also share a role with Matsuoka-san. They hadn't even announced that he was the character. And I went to the producer and I said, this is Matsuoka-san, isn't it? Because they played some of his stuff. That's him. I know that yell. I've listened to it so much. I know that's him. She's like, you got it. That's him. So we've been matched up to another role that's coming. And I'm so excited about it. When you see it, you'll know. It's really good.
That's kind of interesting then, because does that, I guess, mean that, like you were saying about how it's trying to make the English version without relying 100% on the Japanese version of the voice, but at the same time, like that happens, like you said, happened to you a lot, happens to other voice actors a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird that maybe the character would sound like that in either language.
Yeah, it's hard to
There's a
say
comparison.
because I've been cast as these roles by different casting directors. It's not my choice. I audition for everything they allow me to audition for. My job as a voice actor is to try to get in the booth as much as I can, and it's very difficult to get those roles. So I've been cast as these roles matched up with the same seiyus over and over and over by different people. So to me, that must mean there's some aspect of my voice and some aspect of Matsuoka-san's voice that has crossover. And it just hits people in a certain way, and I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of connection that we share. And I must be able to get into the range of Kaji-san also. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's like a similarity without being like a voice match, like, because you put your voices next to each other, they're not the same.
No, nothing alike.
But when you hear it in the character, you go like, oh yeah, that's that guy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going for. When you hear my performance, I want you to think that is the character. And if I've, it's amazing that I've been able to do that with a bunch of these.
Well, one more finish up, one more thing.
Sounds good.
With all the characters, and you were like showing that angry and happy and the range and stuff, is there a particular type of character that you get the most excited about going into the booth and like, oh, today I get to be the angry guy, or like, oh, I get to be happy today?
It's different every time. And I just feel thankful that I get the opportunity to go in there and do those things and put myself through that. And I feel different every time I step out of the booth. It's like I bring a little bit of those characters with me. So it's hard to narrow it down to one. I mean, of course, the ones I get to live with longer, I prefer when you're like guy C in episode 50 that gets blown up, and I've done a bunch of those. You don't live with those characters very long. But anytime I get to step into the booth and do this, I'm really happy. And that's how I know I'm kind of doing the right thing.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Great chatting with you guys. I hope you're enjoying the convention.
Yeah, it's good. I was at the Adachi drawing panel before.
Adachi sounds live. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's incredible. Really
That was
incredible.
It is crazy seeing someone that can just like.
He's so quick. people were talking about how fast he is, and now it makes sense. The faster he draws, the more money he can make.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I had no idea that he was like, yeah, they get paid by frame or drawing or whatever.
It all makes sense now.
It does.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Great
thank
chatting
you.
with you.